Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode on my channel. Today we are doing Destroy Sound 2, which if you don't know, I did a video recently, maybe a few weeks ago, about how to destroy sound and make things interesting. And now today I want to do it again, but slightly different this time, because last time I talked about kind of tips and tricks for that, so if you want to know those, you can click on the previous video. But what I want to do today is show you how you can make sound interesting. And there's no science, because with science, there is there's an experiment typically. That's what we'll be doing. And then after you do the experiment, you get a result. And then you can do that many times to replicate it to get that similar result. But what we want to do is we want to just throw stuff at sound till it's completely different than it was before, thus creating something new and interesting. So instead of me being like, I have this file, here's exactly what I did, what we're going to do is, and this might be a longer video because just who knows, we're going to open a new file and we're going to pick a sound to start and go from there. And this will be completely off rip. This will be completely off rip. So it'll be just like, you'll see what I do and you can follow along. But again, if you follow along, then you're just doing exactly what I do. And I don't want that. I want you to try and figure out, what's interesting and what works for you, and find, I guess your voice in terms of it. But like, it's really like, there's no science, there's no like, exact way to do this. It's more so just like, fuck with sound till you find something you like. So let me open up Ableton here and show you how I'm going to start this. So a few ways to do it. You can obviously do it with a sound, like an effect, a brass, a bass, whatever. And that works amazing. So maybe we'll do two sounds. But for right now, I just want to start with a clip. A sample, something that's like already made. And I kind of want something that's repeaty and interesting, maybe. So these are all my like vocal stuff. Here's one. I like this, a drum beat. Okay. So now, I guess there's a few obvious techniques, which are just like sampling techniques, but they can also be used to destroy sound. And one of them is using the simpler. So if I go in here, simpler, and this is more like a vocal, like a chopping technique. If I grab my sample and then I put it in here, then I turn my push, I can set it to splice mode, and I'll have a whole video in the future about all the sampling and whatever, but now I can press keys, and that's kind of cool. And there's going to be a whole section in that video about randomization and stuff. But the point is, this is one way that you can chop up a sample, and then because it's in the simpler, I can go here and I can be like, let me turn this one off. I would have to find exactly where on the keys it is. There we go. I found one. So now we could do something like this. And then I'm doing something. But that's the sampling technique, so we're not going to get into that. But really, what I like doing is, well, there's a couple of things. You can record, if I go here and just show you this. If I go to Vital and I like take a preset I like Echo Synth. Very synthy. And then I just like plug something in. Kind of random. Doesn't really matter. Okay, there you go. Now what we're going to do here is nothing in this window because we can't, but we're going to drag it over here. Now we have this sound. And let me widen this. Now we're going to just right click on it and do freeze track, which will stop the track in its place so no edits will be made. And then we're going to go flatten, which will basically just turn it into a waveform. And then now that we have this waveform, now we can do any of the waveform editing. So I can like cut this, I can even just reverse it if I want to. But that's one thing that you can do if you have like a instrument or something and you're inputting the MIDI notes. But let's go back here. Okay, so what do I want to do to this sound? I don't know. So we're going to try stuff. Obvious stuff is it's not reverbed, so I could put reverb on it. But my favorite things to do are in the delay and loop section because there's a lot of funky things you can do. Like, let's show you beat repeat first, which basically just takes one of the beats in the, in the clip and just repeats it depending on your specifications. Essentially, that's the short form. So now I can mess it up. I could do like offset. I could do grid. And then I can play around with it. So that's a cool thing to do. But what I'm going to start with actually is gated delay, which essentially is like a record scratch, but not really because it doesn't have the sound. It just... So now we have this sound. Now let's make it darker with grain delay, because why not? Grain delay is cool. And I can also change the order. It doesn't really matter too much for these two effects, but you can hear the difference. You can hear the slight difference when I do this. It does like that, and then if I switched over here, there's a slight difference. Because with audio effects, in any effects of any kind, the order matters based off of how you do it. And I plan in the future to make a video about parallel processing, which is, long story short, just about like doing audio effects on multiple variations of the signal. So you'll have the ability to heavily reverb the sound and also still have a dry signal on top of it, so it adds a little bit, but future video. I like this better. Okay, now let's mess it up even more. So the obvious stuff is like, I'm going to just for now, I'm going to use Ableton defaults because I don't want to step into my plugins and be like, use this. I mean, I could pull up glitch machines because these are free and be like, here's how you do it. Now the plugin's messed up or whatever. But in the spirit of making it accessible to everyone and you don't have to download anything, we're just going to use this stuff. I am realizing now, though, that I think gated delay may be max for live. I think that's a max for live. So we're going to remove it because that is the pro version of Ableton, and I want people to get started with this techniques without using pro. So I'm not fully sure if that's the only pro one. There might be like echoes and delays and whatever, but grain delay I'm pretty sure was there. So we're going to start with that. And then we can put a MIDI effect on there, but it can't because it's not MIDI. So next what we're going to do is we're going to just keep on editing it with some audio effects. Then we'll get crazier. So now we're here. So let's use chorus flanger, chorus ensemble. I like that. It sounds really cool. And then let's shift it lower, maybe. Or not. Maybe that doesn't work. We can obviously auto pan it though. We could do the the technique I showed in one of the recent videos for stuttering. But I don't care about that. What we'll do is EQ. Okay, that's very loud. Turn this down. Okay, maybe not EQA. Again, this is a process where it's just like try things, see what you like, see what you don't like. Because there's some sounds where the EQing would work, and there's other sounds where it won't. So next, let's do gate. See, I like that. Now let's do reverb, because reverb's pretty good. Again, random settings is kind of fun. So now that we have this sound, that sounds kind of interesting. What's next? Well, this is kind of like stage one. We started with one thing, we added another, and we can turn these off so you can hear the difference. And now we have this crazy sound. But let's turn the reverb off for that. Now what I'm going to do here is per usual, but this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to click on here. We're going to go to freeze track so that it freezes the effects that are on the track, and then we'll flatten it, which will remove all of the effects. Now if we listen. Now we can apply a whole nother slew of effects, but what we're going to do is what I was showing you in the beginning, which is pull out the simpler, because then we can chop it. So let's grab this and let's throw it in here. And again, let's splice by like beat. Cool. Now we have this weird thing. Now the goal of this is just we're going to try and make the sound so different than it was before. Oh, I did this wrong. The issue is we have to find exactly where it is. Okay. This first sound has nothing, so we could do something like this. Cool. And we can remove this one. So now, I think that's a little too fast, so that's times 2. And then maybe we throw in like this. Now it's kind of a groove. But now we could even do this, I don't know. I'm feeling like no, we'll go back. So now that we have this, what next? Well, we can put more audio effects on there, but also we can now do MIDI effects. So maybe we want to do something crazy. Very glitchy, I kind of like it. You could also change the style to random. I mean, it's too fast, so it doesn't really matter, but we'll do that, and then we can put random on here, which will change a little bit of the, not octave, but like key. So let's set to 100. I mean, the random is selecting others in there, but we're gonna remove that and we're gonna just do. So now I like this, but now I'm like, maybe it's too fast. But let's leave it like this, and let's like do something else onto it. So I don't know if LFO. That's another question, which I'll do a video on, which is like ambient music. But I don't know. I'm gonna look up if LFO is a Ableton default because I like to, I'm big on the FOSS, free and open source hardware kind of deal, and so if it's in the free Ableton, that would be amazing. But I don't think it is because it's a Max for Live. But anyways, we have this, which is pretty cool. Now let's maybe let's do a shifter. I like that. Don't need the drive. We got spin. I don't know what that is. There's a lot of things that I'm doing here that I have no clue about, which is a thing that eventually, probably in the future, I'll be like, yeah, I know what spin is on the shifter, but the point is, like, I'm just throwing sound. I'm just having fun. I'm doing whatever, and I don't need to know what things are unless I'm like trying to do a very specific thing. Like if I'm like, I want to make synthwave music, I should probably know how to do, make things sound like retro synths, yada yada yada. But like if I'm just like fooling around, you don't really need to have knowledge to fool around. Just play around, and some things you'll learn, you'll figure out like, oh, the rate, I know what that is by playing with it. And then spin, I'll be like, I have no clue. So, in any case, we had the shifter. And I feel like we could do some other stuff on there. Maybe like erosion. Okay, I kind of like this. There was one thing I do want to show you guys though, which I'll make a video on like plugins I like at some point, but I'm not going to fully use this. This one, I think, is free, if I remember correctly. I hope it is, but essentially it just changes the bit rate. It's just a minor thing. There's some other settings I'm not going to go into. Anyways, let's see. So now we have this sound. What other MIDI effects are there? Well, there's no echo, so we could do that. Try that. Kind of like this, like, as a thing that you play once. Like if I were doing a full composition, which I'm not, but we have a possibility here. But yeah, I'm going to remove no echo anyways, because I realize that's a Max for Live. Let's see, change scale. Let's look through one of these settings. Let's do Locrian Super. Why not? So this just changes kind of the scale. Which isn't really going to do too much for us because it's, sample and whatever. But the point being, it's something you can add on into it. So let's go from here, and I'm not going to do a full composition, but I just want to show you how you could turn this into a fuller idea. So now that we have this, which is kind of like random, I'm going to throw in a random drum kit, which, I don't know, it's being a little weird. but I'm going to do my typical composition that I do for examples, which is simple, I think 4 on the floor kind of deal. So now that we have this, then we have this. So, yeah, this is just kind of a random idea. I'm going to remove this. But in any case, we made a sound using just fooling around and having fun, which you should do more of. And if we go to samples here, and then we put this sound in, this is the same thing as this. But this guy's just been affected a bunch, and now it's a composition. Now it's whatever. And we could... So now if we wanted to, we could even, like, do some fool around thing here, like variation. And then the ending here too, like if this was not a video where I was like, get rid of all the max for audio effects or whatever, and whatever, if I was just using whatever, I would definitely do, what is it, delay and loop. I would definitely do gated delay on like the end of this beat here, like this guy. Just because that would sound cool, I think. Let's see. Or it's like one off. Two? I don't know. But anyways, the idea. Yeah. Anyways, I'm babbling at this point. So here's the main idea. The main idea is that you can take any sound and you can turn it into something more interesting with little to no effort or a lot of effort. Like I could just throw on like an echo on a sound and then already it's slightly different. But it's important, I think, to realize that like you can use samples as much as you want and there's no complaints there, but making stuff your own is so much more satisfying than just using a bunch of everyone else's other stuff. So I like editing my samples a bunch and, changing how they sound. But there's sometimes where something just fits perfectly and I'm like, okay, no change. But yeah, that's the main idea for everything. I've been talking for too long, so I'm going to end it off here. But before I go, here's your challenge. I want you to do exactly what I did. So find a sample of any kind and destroy the ever-living shit out of it so it sounds completely different than before. And that does not mean that it has to go into the red when I say destroy, because typically when you think destroy, you're like, oh yeah, I'll throw heavy distortion on it. But no, destroy is kind of just like there's this thing and you're, taking parts of it and destroying it or whatever. But that's your challenge. And also, thank you so much for, I think it's at 31 subs. That's amazing. My goal, I think I said this in another video. I was like, my goal this summer was to get 30, and I'm not even done with summer yet. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow at 12. I'm writing it down in the books. Tomorrow, 12, I plan to be live for an hour. And I'm putting it in the books, but I have a friend who may message me being like, want to play, and I will probably say, I'm live streaming, so no. But I'll update it if anything else changes. Anyways, I love you guys. Do that challenge. Tag me in it if you want, or whatever. Or you can even send it to me through Instagram. I'm going to, today, I think, actually, I'm going to start work on Discord. So we'll have a place to chat about stuff, because I know nowadays Discord's a big thing. I just got to figure out exactly the format and roles and whatever. But, you know, it's probably just going to be typical stuff like don't talk about NSFW in the Discord and no slurs or whatever. So we'll figure it out, but hopefully I can put something interesting in there about like I think there will be a section for like sharing presets and packs and whatever and free stuff. So to keep an eye out for that. I will post something on Instagram or on YouTube in the community section. I don't know. Anyways, love you guys. That's all I got. Bye.